basis of how to price bottleneck, how to close the process. I'm sorry. So we said last time that basically we use some terminology by using these triangles, boxes, and arrows. We can define any process, the most simple one, the most complicated. And the beginning of the process is called the upstream. The end of the process is called the downstream. This is where kind of we can think of the supply chain, where from the beginning, where things, the products and services and information flow to the upstream to downstream. And we talk about like there are different waiting line arrangements in different places, and they are all process. They can be represented with this process analysis tool, and we were going to talk about that in our after the midterm. The topic is called waiting time analysis. We will have much more detailed discussion on that. And then from there on, we also talked a little bit about the difference between the make to stock and make to order. Whenever you get the finished goods inventory, you basically produce things to the stock. That's called make to stock production environment. Otherwise, whenever you produce something for demand, that's called the make to order environment. We discussed about plenty of examples, like in different types of restaurants, there can be make to stock or make to order. Or, for example, Dell produces computer like whatever configuration you want, that's make to order, or it also creates some sort of a fixed configuration and sell it at Best Buy and other channels, and that's called the make to stock. And yeah, last time we talked about capacity, flow rate, utilization, and bottleneck, and give the definitions of these concepts. And let me just remind, as a reminder, we're going to write the concepts here. Like capacity, we denote this by Ci, and it's equal to 1 over Pi, which means that 1 over the processing time is actually essentially the same thing, put in a different way. And if, for example, each customer takes 2 minutes to serve, then the capacity is at 0.5 customers per minute. So, and then the process capacity is the minimum of the different stages in the process. And the idea is very simple, because the process, as we last time talked, process can be as fast as it is slowest link. So then the process capacity is equal to the minimum of these processes of different stages. And that's called the process capacity. Last time we also discussed about that in detail. And then in our previous case, we were always given the flow rate. The flow rate was like the amount of units flow through the process per unit of time. Like how many units flow through the process per unit of time. But if we want to calculate the flow rate, we need to take into account the demand, because through a process, only either a demand can flow or the process capacity can flow. Like a simple analogy was that the Starbucks on the corner can only process either if there is like 50 customers per hour and they can handle only 25 customers per hour, only 25 customers per hour will flow through the system. On the other hand, if the demand is 25 but they have 50 customers capacity, then the other one will, the vice versa will happen. So ultimately the flow rate will be equal to we will use the same notation, the minimum of the demand and the process capacity. And this will be the flow rate. And finally, we also, this is not the last one, but one before the last one, we also introduced another method called utilization. And we say that utilization essentially can be for the entire process, which means that it gives us a percentage of time that our process is busy. Like, because of that logic, we're going to divide the flow rate, how many units can flow per, actually flow per time unit, divided by the how many units can flow. So remember, process capacity is equal to the minimum of the demand and the minimum of the process capacity. Sorry, flow rate is the minimum of demand and process capacity. As you can see in here, if my flow rate is equal to the process capacity, in other words, if I'm dealing with a capacity constrained process, then my utilization will be always equal to 100%, right? Which means that in words, in realistic example, if you have 100 customers waiting in the door, and you can only handle 50% of them, 50 customers per hour, you're going to be busy 100% of the time. That's the idea. On the other hand, if there is like 25 customers on the door, in front of the door, and you can only handle, 50 of them, then you're not going to handle more than 25, which means that half of the time you're going to be idle. That's the logic behind it. So just like we define utilization for a process, entire process, we can define utilization for each unit, each stage as well. And then I will use a similar notation like that, and I will say that each stage in my process, utilization of each stage in my process is equal to the flow rate divided by the capacity of that unit. So there's a difference, slight difference. The logic is the same, but there's a slight difference between the process capacity, process utilization, and the utilization of each stage or each employee in the process. Finally, we last time we talked about why should we care about utilization, because if we know that which employee or which machine is busy compared to how much it's utilized, then we can reallocate the resources. That's going to happen in the next maybe next week, in the next couple of sessions. We will learn something called line balance. So like if one employee is super busy and the others were not working that hard, we will learn how to shift some of the workload from offload from that employee to others. And yes, finally, last time we talked about the cycle time. And cycle time is essentially the same thing with the flow rate, okay? Just like the processing time and the capacity are essentially the same things, just looking in a different way. Cycle time is essentially the same with flow rate. Cycle time is equal to 1 over the flow rate. Cycle time gives us an interesting insight. So first of all, what was it? Like flow rate, if the process produces 90 cars per hour, then cycle time is like 1 over 90 hours per car, which means that if I multiply it with 3,600 seconds in a half hour, which means that it's 40 seconds a car. Production of 40 seconds a car. It gives us a rhythm of the process. And remember, last time we discussed about it, cycle time is the time between completing the entire process of the two consecutive units. If I fill the process and I look only to the end of it, just go all the way to the downstream and just look at only to the end of it, I will see on average, there will be in this example, there will be 40, a car is coming out of the production line in every 40 seconds. Same applies for the subway, and that's the rhythm of the process, and it gives us an interesting insight. Okay. So last time we gave an example, and finally we stopped here. We gave the difference between the lead time and the cycle time. Just remember, lead time is the entire time a unit, a flow unit, spans in the process. Like from the moment that it enters the process, the moment it exits the process is the lead time. In a supply chain context, the lead time is commonly referred to as the moment that you place the order until you receive it. Like Amazon Prime has a lead time of 1 or 2 working days, right? Just like if you're member, that's your lead time. You place an order, you receive it, that's the lead time. Cycle time, on the other hand, when you look at the end of the process, it's the rhythm of the process. Like, what do you see in every X time minutes? How many flow, what is the different timing flow units coming out? Okay, let's apply this. Last time we stopped that. Let's apply this concept to a simple example. A primary care doctor has the capacity to see 16 patients per day. Okay? So the demand rate is 12 patients per day. What is the flow rate of this capacity? Well, is this a demand constraint or a capacity constraint process? What is the utilization of that doctor? And what is the cycle time if we assume a 10-hour work? So I'll give you, the formulas are here. Capacity, process capacity, flow rate, cycle time, utilization. This is still a single stage process. So that is just like that. Anyone found cycle time? Yeah. 50 seconds.
15 minutes.
15 minutes per patient. Okay. Anybody else find with different or same numbers? So, what is the demand rate? The first thing in this kind of things that we should identify before analyzing the process, of course, we should identify the processing time, demand rate. What is the demand rate? How many customer patients there are? 12 patients, given that, just like 12 patients per day arrive to the clinic. So in every day, this doctor receives 12 patients. What is this process capacity of this process? How many patients does the doctor can handle? It's given over there. He can handle. The doctor can handle. He or she can handle 16 patients per day. Do you agree? Ask me if there is something unclear. Okay? So if there is something unclear, you didn't get one of those forms, just let me know. And the flow rate. Flow rate, as we said, like it's the minimum of the demand or the process capacity, depending on what we can do and how much we arrive. In this case, it's the minimum of 12 16. It's 12 patients per day. Now, is this a demand constraint process or capacity constraint? Demand constraint process. Because if demand is smaller than the process capacity, it's a demand constraint process. If otherwise, then it's a capacity constraint process. So we have a demand constraint process. So we have a demand constraint process. And we are asked, what is the utilization of the doctor? We will look at our formula here. This is our utilization. It says that divide how many units flow through the system by how many can flow. So how many units flow through the system? 12 patients per day. How many can flow? The doctor can handle up to 16 patients per day. It is 0.75. Right? So the doctor is busy 75% of the time, and he's idle 25% of the time. So let's see if I write something else here. Yeah, so he's idle 75%, sorry, 25% of the time. And does it make sense that he's idle given the demand and the process? It makes sense, right? Because the process is a demand constraint process, which means that capacity there will be slack capacity by definition. So we simply quantify what is the slack capacity. It's 25%. So 25% more capacity than the demand. Okay. And what is the final question? The final question is that what is the cycle time assuming a 10-hour workday? Let's look at the cycle time. Basically, the cycle time is the same thing with the flow rate. It's just 1 over the flow rate. So I'm going to use that. Cycle time is equal to 1 over 12 patients per 1 over patients per day is 1 over 12 days per patient. Okay? So I flip this. You see, when I put this down, that units also flips. If you forget which one is which, like was the flow rate for units per time or time per minute, you just remember that you flip one of them and you get the other. And cycle time, you can remember, it's always have to be a time, right? Like cycle time is always time divided by the unit per unit. So 1 over 12 days per patient. So in every one of 12 days, the patient is coming out. And a day is given as 10 hours. So I'm going to transfer this unit into something more, understandable. A day is a 10-hour. So 10 divided by 12, you get that number, but I can do better. A day is 10 hours, each hour is 60 minutes, which means that a day is 600 minutes. So I'm going to multiply this 600 minutes divided by 12. Then this becomes minutes per day, and it will be, if you do the math, 15 minutes. Yes. So, then it becomes 15 minutes per patient. Every patient, like, spend 1 hour. You will get the process at the end of the process. You will see the patient, the time between the two patients, served patients are. Okay. Any questions? Any unclear points? Now, of course, this was like kind of a relatively simple example to make it to get us used to the, how these things work. We will make things a little bit more complicated. Like we will just use multiple stages, and we will apply these concepts to each stage, and then we could just generate more interesting insights. But if you have any questions about anything, ask. If you don't feel asking now, just ask later, send me an email or come to the office. Okay, so now the same question, what if I say that there is not a single patient, doctor there, but there are 3 doctors? Okay, now if I do the same calculations, what would I get? So like, just curious. So what would be the flow rate? What would be the utilization? What would be the cycle time? Now, one thing is important to remember is that I need to change this formula slightly. The capacity of the process would be slightly changed if I'm going to use multiple resources at one stage. So each box is a stage of the process, and we assume generally there will be one employee, one machine in each stage, but it doesn't have to be always the case, right? Just in this case, we say that now there are 3 doctors in our single stage process, like not rather than one. For each doctor, on average, it takes 30 minutes to see a patient. So now I'm giving the processing time now, okay? Now I have here 3 doctors, and each doctor's processing time is about 30 minutes. So I need to do a little bit more work to calculate the process capacity. So I'm going to go back to this definition. So I'm going to say that each doctor has to take about 30 minutes to serve a doctor and serve a patient. Okay. So I'm going to say that for Dr. 1, it will be his capacity will be 1 over his processing time. Okay, which means that 1 over 30 minutes per patient. Okay, so 1 over 30 minutes per patient. Let me see if I just translated it to anything. No, I didn't do that. So this is the Dr. 1. Dr. 1's capacity. Now, I ask you that, if each doctor is serving 1 over 30 patients per minute, let's write it like that. So, if each doctor is serving 1 over 30 patients per minute, that's their capacity, my question is that, what is the process capacity? There are parallel processes. How many patients these 3 doctors together serve in the clinic per minute?
1 over 10.
1 over 10, right? Because I'm going to multiply it simply by 3. If we are doing 1/3 of a job, right, in per unit time, if 3 of us work together, we will just finish it in 1 hour. Let's say if we are going to do it, if we can finish a job, let's say homework, if we are collaborating and dividing the homework into 3 pieces, you're going to do the first 5 questions, you're going to do the second 5, you're going to do the third 5 questions, fifth question. And if each of us rate is like that, we can solve correctly 5 questions per hour, then this homework will be completed in 1 hour, right? Otherwise, if we were work to only one, then it will take us 3 hours to finish the homework. The same idea applies here. And so the capacity of the process will be simply, in this case, 3 times over 1 over 30, which is 1 over 10 patients per minute. And to make things more formalized, I'll give you a much easier formula. It says that, all right, that's great. So remember, we say now that the process capacity is equal to that, but essentially our process is just one stage, right? Just like one box is equal to the entire process. So, but if we have multiple boxes, we're going to, and if we, in each box, there are different number of employees or machines, like rather than one, then we will say that for capacity of each box will be equal to number of machines there, Ni, and divided by the process of each machine, each employee, each doctor, etc. So capacity of the clinic is 0.1 patients per hour, and let's translate it into 0.1 patients per minute, which means that 10 hours working days, 6 patients per hour, and 6 patients per day. Okay? I just want to show you that formula here. Yes, important thing to remember is that at some point, I mean, pretty soon, we will have processes like that. So, like, this is going to be stage 1, this is going to be stage 2, this is going to be stage 3. Okay? Now, if we assume one employee, then the first formula, Ci over 1 over Pi over there, this formula, apply. This is general. However, if I have an employee like, I have one employee here, one work employee here, 2 employees here, and 3 employees here, for whatever reason, okay, I stopped on more than 1, then capacity of 1 will be equal to 1 over processing time of 1, this employee. Capacity of 2 will be equal to 2 over, because there are 2 processing times, and then, okay, 2, I thought it was money. 2 over processing time of each employee in stage 2. So each employee, where the processing time will be given for 1 employee, that's important. And so on and so forth. So capacity of 3 will be 3 over processing time of 1. So we will come to that later, but that's just basically a more general expression than the capacity. Whenever there's more employees, we just multiply the capacity of each employee by that now. Okay, processing times are given for 1 unit of resource. So we find that the process capacity in the new 3-doctor version is 60 patients per day. What was our previous version? Our demand has not changed. Our demand is still 12 patients per day, and previously we have already have some slack capacity. Now, I ask you this question. Is my flow rate changed? Why? Like with the new, the doctor just go hire 2 more colleagues, and the capacity now shoot up like almost 5 times.
Isn't it because the demand is still the same?
Yes, the process was already demand constrained. If you add the capacity to a demand constrained process, you're not going to improve the flow rate because it's just basically there's already more capacity than the demand, and you're just basically dumping more capacity in the process. You're not going to improve the process. So at least from this perspective. Like, just first, last time we talked about if the process is demand constrained, you should start doing something else, right? Just like talk about how can I improve the demand, or sometimes we increase the demand. But ideally, your focus should be on the demand side. So what can we do the demand to ramp the demand up to the capacity that we have, so that we match supply and demand in a better way. So the same rule applies here, and it's intuitively clear. So you don't need a math for that. But like, if you want to apply the formula, all you need to see is that like minimum of 12, and so minimum of 12, the demand, and 60 is still 12 patients per day. So there's no difference between these two flow rates. And it's still, this is the demand constraint process. So there is no difference between them. Will the utilization of the process change? Will it change? The utilization, will it be more utilized or less utilized? Less utilized, right? Because the doctor was by itself idle 25% of the time. Now there are two more doctors in this, so they will all be idle. So let's calculate that utilization will be flow rate. How much flows through the system and how much is going to flow? It's basically 1/5. It drops to 0.2. So utilization drops to 20%, all the way from 75%. So 80% of the time, the doctors are doing nothing. Understandable, because their demand is simply too weak for it. And let's see. And is the cycle time, is the rhythm of the process change? Will the rhythm of the process change when we add these three doctors? Will the process start working faster or slower?
No.
No, right? Because the flow rate does not change. Because we are bounded by the demand. We didn't do anything with the demand. We kind of focused on something irrelevant, in this example. Like, the doctor focused on, rather than improving the demand, the doctor focused on improving the capacity. And ultimately, the cycle time, the rhythm of the process, neither increased nor decreased. It stays the same, because the cycle time and the flow rate, as you can see, are the same, and my flow rate is equal to 1/12, which is my cycle time, and that remains the same, 15 minutes per patient. So, okay. Any questions? And we calculated the utilization is 80% out of it. So, we already talked about that, but in a demand constraint process, adding more capacity would just simply not improve anything, but makes things worse. Typically, we will have a less utilization rate and more costly operation without increasing the flow rate. Remember, as we will see later, flow rate is equal to money. Because the amount of customers, amount of patients, amount of boxes flowing through your warehouse means that you're generating money. Of course, it also means that you're generating cost. But ideally, a growing business means flow, like high flow rate. So that's the idea behind the entire process analysis. So ideally, we want to increase the flow rate, therefore increase the cycle. Okay, so let's look at a little more realistic and more interesting example, the Tesla case. So Tesla Model S is produced in this Tesla's Fremont factory in California. I'll show you shortly a video about that. So typically, this process, it's kind of this process is generic for any car process. Is that take the metal sheets and you stamp them. So that's the first step, stamping, so you form them. And then you send them to sub-assembly. And the sub-assembly is where basically you basically take the mainframe and the doors and different things like you basically create the mainframe of the computer of the car, and then you send it to the paint shop where the car is just lifting the paint and taken out, and then you send it to general assembly where you put the seats, the steering wheel, tires, etc., and then you send it to the quality test. Of course, there are multiple stages. This process is much more complicated than that, but these are the rough steps. Remember, in a process analysis, we can go as detailed as we want, but we will stop it here because I want to discuss like what might have actually, what is the first understand what the Tesla's operations is about. And I don't know if you had the time to look at the articles that I sent yesterday. They were about interesting problems that Tesla has been for a while. So then, his product line originally produced 500 cars per each week. So it was like you can argue that they were have a model of make to order. So you go to a Tesla shop, you say that I want to have a Tesla, and then they take your order, they put you in the queue, they just send feedback into the all the way to the factory, and they kind of assemble the product, and then you take your test. So this is a 500 cars operation per week originally, and it takes a car about 3 to 4 days to move from the beginning of the process to the end. So to speak, the flow time or the entire lead time, if you would like, but we will use the terminology flow. So then we will discuss like what is the cycle time of this operation, what is the flow time, and how many cars are we likely to encounter as the working process inventory. But before that, let's watch this video. It's like kind of, I think 5 to 10 minutes, but it's kind of cool video. I like it.
My body is truly powerful.
I have the power to lower my blood sugar and A1C.
Because I can still make my own insulin.
From a manufacturing standpoint, the way we assemble this car, the way we put it together, all of standpoint, the way we assemble this car, the way we put it together, all of this is essentially very different from another car. The Model S process stages, it all starts with raw material. We have coils of aluminum, different gauges, different types of aluminum, maybe 50, 60 coils. By uncoiling the coils in a special machine called grinding machine that allows to flatten the metal first and then cut it into flat pieces. We call them blanks. In addition to traditional grinding tool, we're using a laser. And then with these pieces, we feed them to the press lines, these gigantic dies. And the press lines essentially form the panels, boom. We are getting all of the parts necessary to make the body of the vehicle out of those gigantic machines. And then all of these parts, as they are finished, so to speak, are brought to the body shop.
The role of the body center is to take all the stamping panels that we make and we bring all that together in one central location, and that's where we actually put the Model S together. We'll start with the do an underbite, which is the main floor system of the car, and then from there we'll move move to body sides. That's the internal reinforcement as well as the outer skin. And inside the framing area, we take the body sides, the underbody, and the front end of the car, we actually marriage it all together. One of the most unique things about this body center is we actually have 5 different overall joining methods for the body shell. We use adhesive, we use self-piercing rivets, we have cold metal transfer, conventional resistance welding, as well as a new Delta Spot welding system. When a body leaves the body center, it's actually a full completed body shell ready to be prepped and painted.
We have a gigantic robot that takes the body and put it into a conveyor. It is conveyed to the paint shop. You have multiple pre-treatment, primer, base coat, clear coat. All of this is supplied with robots that have a special ability to paint in a very clean environment. You get a beautiful painted body that's coming to General Assembly, where we have these super elegant robots we call smart card, where every card is essentially moving through the factory by itself. It follows a magnetic strip, and essentially the card is being assembled from inside out. We're utilizing automation to the fullest. We have a variety of robots, from the teeny little ones to huge ones that are able to move the entire body itself. One of the robots that I'm always very impressed to look at is the one that puts the seats inside Model S. And the same robot is able to change tools, go from a seat handling device to putting the windshield, actually grab the windshield, put some glue around it, and then put the windshield onto the car, as well as do the rear glass of the vehicle. So talk about versatility here.
We have most everything we need right here in-house. We do the majority of our stamping panels ourselves. We have design engineers here at the facility, so we're very nimble and very quick at what we do.
Currently, it takes about 3 to 5 days for a Model S to go from raw material all the way to being finished on the assembly line. It's magnificent. It's like a piece of art. We constantly try to improve process efficiency. We want to push the boundaries of what can be done by robots versus humans. So it's a constant evolution. This Tesla factory is the future of the USA and the world. That's the way I see it. We are building the future here. That's how proud I feel about this.
Also the future of loss of unemployment. It's very enthusiastic, but these robots are the problem of the next generation production. Huge unemployment, AI and robots are basically letting go lots of lots of blue-collar workers. By the way, this factory is the first in the world who can make these seats. If you read the articles that I sent you, you would notice that from there that it's the first in the world which assembles the seats without manual labor. Apparently, all other car companies were using this manual labor, outsourcing them to some other factories or some labor to assemble these things, and that was a huge part of their cost. And as you can see, this guy here just like calibrated, take the seat, put it back, and take it out, and put also the windshield. So it's pretty impressive what they are doing that. And the machine built the machine. It's like almost like a Terminator. That's how Elon Musk is calling. Elon Musk is calling this factory is machine building the machine. So that's his goal. That's zero man labor. Like basically everything is automated, and it's pretty impressive what they did. So, but there are some glitches with that, and from supply chain perspective. But before going into that, so let's have a very quick analysis of this, what we saw over there. So these figures are from there. Originally, they were producing 500 vehicles per week. As you might hear, he said that each car takes about 3 to 5 days to move from the beginning of the process to the end. So I will ask you to now just to think about this entire process as a one giant box, like as we did before, like this one big box, without going into the details of that. Of course, if we have the figures, we can just analyze that too. So, and I'm asking like, what is the cycle time of the process if we assume 2 shifts, 8 hours each, and 5 days a week of operation? So like basically, what is it in, on average, how many cars are coming out from the end of the process? And we are given the demand. So demand is given as 500 cars per week. Vehicles of cars. And then each car takes about 3 to 5 days, and we need to find the cycle time of the process. Okay. 500, sorry, I made a mistake. 500 is not the demand. 500 is exactly the flow rate. Because we don't know the demand, so we are not given the demand. So the 500 is the flow rate. In this case, let's assume the demand is the infinity for a given. So this is a kind of a process capacity constraint process. So our process capacity is equal to the, so demand is infinity, our process capacity is 500, so 500 cars per week. So our cycle time is simple to calculate. It's equal to cycle time, 1 over 500. And let's give it in hours or minutes or seconds. So, I mean, calculation is very easy because we are already given the forward.
Are we using 5 days or 3 days?
We are using 2 shifts, 8 hours of each, and 5 days of weeks of operation. Like, which means that the factory is working 16 hours a day for 5 days a week. So every week is 8 hours. So 1 day is 16 hours. So we are going to work 1 week is 5 days, which means that 8 hours each. Tell me, in terms of hours, what is the cycle time? Every 0.16, right? All I need to do is 80 divided by 500. Am I correct? Does everybody find 0.16?
Mm-hmm.
Hours per car. Okay, 0.16 hours per car is a good number, but probably we could be more comfortable with minutes or even seconds. If I ask you to express things in minutes, what would you get? 9.6 minutes per car. I just simply multiplied with 60, right? And if I ask you to get it in seconds, what would you get? 1 or 6, multiply 1 more times 60. 60 times 9.6. What do you get? 506? 500. Okay. 576 seconds per car. So I'm just doing this just to make me comfortable with these transformations. Are there any questions with these transformations? Like what are we doing? The cycle time calculation actually ends here. Just ends your cycle time. The rest is that how can we express it in a more intuitive manner? Like which one appeals to us better? 0.16 hours, 9.6 minutes, or 576 seconds. I would say that this makes more sense to me. Like so I can say that, oh, this factory is producing a car in every 9.6 minutes. So let's see if everything is correctly. So flow rate also can be expressed like that. 9.6 minutes per car. So the factory is producing the assembly line when it is full. Every 9.6 minutes, a car is coming up. Not bad, not bad. So it can be faster, but it's okay given the flow rate of 500 cars per week. Now, what is the other question? What is the flow time? Which means that how much time a car from the moment that it enters the process here until it exits as an assembly. Obviously, you would say that, hey, no car enters here, it's just raw materials like sheets of metal, etc. It's true, but from our perspective, those sheets of metals, etc., or this raw material are also a unprocessed car. So we will assume that they're like enter and turn into a car. So we will stick to our car definition. And it's given in the question is that on average, cars flow time is average of 3 to 5 days. Where is it? It says that here. It takes a car about 3 to 5 days to move from the beginning of the process to the end, like to be assembled, in other words. So, average of 3 to 5 days, we can assume that flow time in this, like a car travels from a car production lead time, in short, is 4 days in this process. Okay, then now I know the flow rate, now I know the flow time. I can find how many cars in this factory in California on average, right? Which formula that I will use, what's the famous formula for that? If I know the flow rate, if I know the flow time, then I can know the inventory. And that, what is the formula for that? Anybody remember? Little flow. It simply says that, let's put little flow here. Inventory is equal to flow time, flow rate times the flow time. So that's the little flow. It's important, please remember. Okay, so this is our little flow, and inventory is equal to 4 days. I'm going to either translate everything. Remember, my flow time is in week, like 500, so flow rate is in week, 500 cars per week, but my flow time is in days. So I'm going to either translate everything to week or to days, whichever I prefer. Let me see what I do here, and it is hours. I just translated everything to hours, but basically 4 days is equal to 64 hours in our operation of here, and 500 cars per week is equal to 6.25 cars per hour. And all I need to do is multiply 6.25 times 64. A week is 5 days, which means that I can also, there's an easier calculation here. You see, forget about that. Because I can say that my flow rate is 500 cars per week, which is, because my week is 5 days, 100 cars per day, right? As you can see, my flow rate is 100 cars per day. And my flow time is 4 days, then the calculation is much more easy. Like 4 times 100, 400 cars in the unit. I don't know why did I do that, but sometimes I lose myself while preparing these slides. Okay, so inventory 400 cars. You could get the queue by looking at the answers, because answers will be in multiple choice, will be like kind of. But as long as your calculations are correct in the test or in the case study, I don't care. So like, as you can see, if you just transfer everything as I did there, it's just a little bit more work, but it's just, you arrive to the same result. Yeah? Now, so we had an idea, like on average, there is like 400 cars laying in the system, and this production is producing 500 cars per week. Now, what happened if did anybody actually have a chance to look at the articles? Yes.
If they want like increase the supply to like 5,000 cars a week.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what happened. So there are several reasons what happened there. In order for Tesla to be competitive with Ford Motors or Japanese car producers, these are more traditional car producers, they need to ramp up these 500 cars per week to 5,000 cars per week. So basically, as you can see, their cycle time should go down. If you make this 5,000, everything will be equal. Their cycle times go down to 5.76 seconds per each car. That's the rate their competitors are producing. Like every 5.76 seconds, there should be a car coming out of the assembly line. And why Elon Musk said that at some point in 2014, Elon Musk said that like let's be a real car company, which means that yeah, we are this like boutique, environmental friendly car company, but it's not going to change the world. He wants to change the world. He said that simply let's be a real car company and just hammer these other competitors by just ramping up our production. His vision was that because everything is automated, so there will be faster and faster build up, like it's achievable even faster. And then currently, back then, Tesla was like sold at the higher prices, like about $6,000, $80,000, like a luxury class. So they designed this Model S. It's a sedan car, which is base model is $35,000, which is price point was right, so they can compete with the other companies. Everybody can afford that. It's also have a lot of innovations in its design, as you might have ever used Tesla. You will notice it's a very comfortable car. It's an electric car, and advantage is that it accelerates super fast, and so it gives you a nice ride as well, and it's safe because a lot of this analytic driving innovation they did. There's a computer inside it. It's called basically you can drive it without wheels, hands off, like the car can drive it. So it's just basically a car out of this world. This really is. But then there were several problems. First, the problem was that, what was the main problem? What's your name?
Colin.
Is that Colin?
Colin.
What was the main problem? Do you remember? There are several problems, but you mentioned just a second. That's why I'm asking. Exactly. So the one major problem was that they make themselves, if you automate everything, automation is great, but you also lose a lot of flexibility that you would get with the manpower. Like this, you give a person a slightly bigger, larger battery, these cars work with the battery, and that person will simply assemble it to the space without any problem. You give that robot a slightly larger, like even 1 millimeter, 1 centimeter larger battery, you need to write the entire software, you need to, calibrate the entire machine to it. So in this manufacturer making everything automation, Elon Musk later on told himself that it was a huge stupidity to make everything so automated. So because it kind of eliminated any variation, disruption, which could happen in the supply chain. In this case, indeed it happened. there was only one supplier, real strong supplier, that they can supply the batteries. You notice in the video, they are very proud of themselves that everything in that Fremont factory is produced in the factory. So Elon Musk hates suppliers, so he doesn't like outsourcing. He said that everything, we're gonna do it here. So they basically cut the metal. The typical auto production is that you have like 100 suppliers or 1,000 suppliers, you buy the parts from there or there. They are producing most of these parts at home. But there is only that they can produce so much. They have also a gigafactory in Nevada, which produces these batteries. And Panasonic is a partner. It's called vertical integration in supply chain to produce those big batteries for the cars and other household items that they produce. So those factories were actually supplying the Tesla for the main battery power of that. But Panasonic dropped the ball. That if you listen to Elon Musk podcast, he always blamed them. They said they dropped the ball by just not designing the batteries enough and not producing them on the right time at the right quantity. So there was a there was a major supply disruption in the process. So what happened is that they want to ramp this thing up to 5,000, but then it was a capacity constraint process, and the bottleneck in the process was these batteries. There was one of their problems, but that started everything. So then they need to recalibrate everything in order to basically to match to use different size batteries, and that would create a huge disruption in the process because everything was automated, etc. And then that was the problem. And once they have this kind of problem, they also have called a logistics nightmare. And logistics nightmare is that Ford Motor has like 4,000 dealers across the United States. Tesla has only 100 shops, which means that they are moving from make to order to make to stock, which means that you forecast the demand. Is the car red car is popular, or the blue car is popular, and then you stock the cars, and then if some model is not popular, you call it back or you send it to discount. With 100 locations, you don't have space to carry inventory. So then all of a sudden the dealer